In this video, I would like to speak about Hamlet, a play by William Shakespeare, one of the greatest plays ever written, certainly in the English language, and one of the most famous plays out there. I'm talking about Act 1, Scene 1, the very start of the play. And first of all, what happens in this scene? What happens is that we are outside the castle, or we are where the guards are. The guards are guarding the castle on the ramparts. They're at the walls of the castle and they're guarding the castle. And we have the change of the guard. So we have, I think, Francisco, who's been guarding, and he's just a soldier who's heading off for the night. He's done his shift. And then Bernardo, who is an officer who comes to relieve him of the guard. So we have that change. And then we have Marcellus and Horatio. So Marcellus is another officer, and he is bringing Horatio to the guard watch in order to prove to him what he's seen a couple of times, which is a ghost of the dead King Hamlet. And Horatio is a friend of the dead King Hamlet's son, who's also known as Hamlet, and Marcellus is another officer. So for most of the scene, for the very start, we have Francisco. Francisco gets relieved by Bernardo. Then Bernardo gets joined by Marcellus and Horatio. So for most of the scene, we have three people: Horatio, Marcellus, and Bernardo. And what happens for that, for most of the scene, is we have Horatio explaining the background to the story, giving us all, the audience, context about what's happened in recent days, months, and years. And the background goes as follows. We have old King Hamlet, who is the former king of Denmark, and we're in Denmark, in a castle in Denmark. And what happened was that old King Hamlet challenged the King of Norway, King Fortinbras, to single combat. And what happened was that King Hamlet killed King Fortinbras, and as a result, he won half of King Fortinbras's lands. And now we fast forward, and we've got King Hamlet, who's dead, and we've got Fortinbras, who was killed by old King Hamlet. He's got a son also called Fortinbras, and young Fortinbras is coming to retake the lands which his father lost to Hamlet. So that's the general setup. And what happens? So Horatio discusses all of this. He tells them and tells this to Marcellus and to Bernardo, and also he obviously tells it to the audience to fill us in with what's actually happening in Denmark at the time. But what also happens is that the ghost of which Marcellus speaks appears a couple of times. It comes in and it goes out. The ghost doesn't actually speak itself, it just kind of appears and then goes away. It goes away at the cock crow. I don't know, because that signals morning is coming, so it disappears when morning comes. And also it's unwilling to speak to them. They try and get it to speak, then they try and kind of threaten it, to force it to speak by thinking about whether they should throw a spear at it. But obviously it's a ghost, so it doesn't really respond to physical threats. And what then happens? And then at the very end they say, it's going to speak to Hamlet, to young Hamlet, because this is the ghost of old King Hamlet, who's Hamlet's father, who's young Hamlet's father. And so what they've got to do is bring Hamlet, and then it'll speak, and then it will tell us something which is very important, which is key to all the events which have happened, because something's up, something strange is going on, and this ghost will have the key. So that's a rough synopsis. We're with the guards who are guarding the castle. There's a changing of the guard, and he's called Bernardo's guarding. Horatio comes with Marcellus. Marcellus brings Horatio to check out this ghost. Horatio doesn't believe him. Horatio is thus depicted as this kind of calm, rational, careful character, which the notes of the book that of the version that I was reading says that this is actually one of the reasons why Hamlet likes him, why young Hamlet likes him, and is his friend, because that's the main role of Horatio. He's the friend of Hamlet, is because he's calm and rational. Then we have Marcellus who's showing him this ghost. So those, I think, are the key points in Act 1, Scene 1. We've got the background for what's happening in Norway, what's happened in the past few years, and we've got this intrigue because there's this strange ghost which nobody knows why he's appeared.